Hey business warriors, Business Shifu here, and yes, this is a video about passive income ideas that you can try at home. Passive income, everyone wants to earn passive income, right? Because it's basically the income that you're going to earn from sitting on your butt and doing nothing and the money just rolls in. Well, it's not totally like that. I mean, a lot of these things do require significant investment or, in terms of investment of money or investment of time and labor and effort at the beginning to actually set them up, and then they become passive later on. But we're going to go through 5 passive income ideas that you guys can do. Please let me know in the comments, because I was originally going to do 10 and I held 5 of them back because I felt, well, let's just try it out with 5 first, see if people like it. So number 1, our first passive income idea of the day is investing in dividend stocks. Now this one is a super obvious one and probably one of the more straightforward ones to talk about. Basically, many stocks pay dividends, which is a share of that company's profit that's paid out typically every quarter or sometimes every 6 months, occasionally every year as well. And basically you can get a better return than you would in a bank account by investing in dividend stocks, okay? Don't worry about the growth of the stock, okay? That's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about guaranteed income or almost guaranteed income from dividends. You may of course get growth as well. Now let's look at a few different stocks and we'll talk about their dividends and whether they're worth investing in. So let's first look at Apple, AAPL, super stable company. It pays a dividend of about 1.5%. And you can see that Apple has raised its dividend every year for the last several years. So you can see 2017 they're at $2.46, 2018 they're at $2.82, and 2019 they're going to be, based on the 73 cents they paid in the first quarter, they're going to be at $2.92 in 2019. So they'll have raised their dividend this year as well. With dividend stocks, you also want to look at dividend ratio to see how much of their profit they're actually paying out as a dividend, because this can be a clue as to whether they're going to be forced to cut their dividend in the future. In Apple's case, they're only paying about 24%, 1/4 of their profit out as a dividend. So it's quite unlikely that they'd actually have to cut their dividend, which is always good. And if anything, they may increase their dividend. There's a lot of room for them to increase it. There are other factors you do need to look at, the amount of debt on the books and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, Apple, it is a pretty strong company. They do have a lot of cash on their balance sheet, so probably nothing to worry about there. Now, Apple, though, still pays quite a low dividend. It's arguably not worth the risk if you're looking at a dividend point of view, because it's lower than what you'd get through a bank account, potentially. The best bank accounts right now, best savings accounts, they're earning about 2 to 2.5%. So let's start looking at some that are higher. Another one that I have invested in is Rio Tinto. Now this company, it's a mining company. Currently, their dividend is 5.43%, which is a really high dividend, but they are not as stable with their dividend as Apple. You can see a few years ago, they did actually have to cut their dividend, and their payout ratio currently is 67%, which is not super high, but it's getting a little bit on the high side. So I wouldn't expect them to really raise their dividend necessarily anytime soon. If anything, you could see it cut, but we don't know. But there's that's the risk, okay? Basically the chance of that could happen. Let's have a look at another pretty stable company, and that is AT&T. Ticker symbol is just T. Now this company has a great dividend. It's currently 6.65%, and if we look at the chart for the last few years, it's increased by 2% every year for the last several years. Their payout ratio, though, is reasonably high at 75%. So it looks like with this stock, you're not going to get any huge increases in the dividend, and really, the increase of 2% is really just around the level of inflation. Maybe a little bit higher than inflation, but it's not increasing that much. But it's very stable, and at 6.65%, that's a pretty high dividend yield. So with dividend stocks, you need to look for stocks that are paying better than bank accounts. So stocks paying 5 or 6%, that should be healthy with healthy payout ratios. If you see a stock that's paying maybe 8, 9, 10%, alarm bells should ring, okay? It's not necessarily super bad, but you should be cautious with that. You need to look at their payout ratio, see if they're paying like 95% of their profit out, and then if something happened to that company, they would have to cut their dividend. Also, sometimes it could be that the stock has dropped a lot recently and they just haven't cut their dividend yet, but they may cut it soon because they're not bringing in as much profit. Because the dividend, they don't set it as a percentage, they set it as a dollar amount. So when the value of the stock drops, the dividend rate shoots up, okay? But then that often can lead to a cut in the dividend. But now let's talk about how dividends are taxed, because this offers some advantages too. So dividends, once they become qualified dividends, and I'll tell you how that happens in just a moment, they are taxed at the capital gains rate, which are excellent, much lower tax rates. There are 3 rates, 0, 15, and 20%. 20% is the highest you will pay on them. And basically you can earn up to $77,000 a year, married filing jointly, at 0%, okay? You pay nothing. And then from 77,000 up to about 400,000, it's 15%, and then above $400,000, you're taxed at 20% on your dividends, all right? And also the rest of your income is taken into account with that, okay? So, you know, your dividends will be taxed, whatever your total income is, your dividends will be taxed at that certain rate. So, you know, that's married filing jointly. If you want to search for the single rates, you can, you know, look it up online. And this is only for qualified dividends. If you're just, you know, regular dividend, it's taxed at the income tax rates. But how do your dividends become qualified dividends? A little bit complicated. I'll read out basically how it happens from Investopedia. There's a holding period. So common stock investors must hold their shares for more than 60 days during the 121-day period that starts 60 days before the ex-dividend date or the date after the dividend has been paid out, and after which any new buyers would then be eligible to receive future dividends. So a little bit complicated, but basically in a nutshell, if you've held it for several months, your dividends will become, you know, will start becoming qualified dividends, okay? Right, let's go on to the next one now, which is peer-to-peer lending, okay? So if you think bank account interest rates are a little bit low, you want to earn a better interest rate on your money, you could consider peer-to-peer lending. Lenders can earn between 4 and 6% on money that they save out. And these lending platforms, they're basically apps or websites where people who want to borrow money can, you know, apply through the website. But, you know, some things about them can be a bit sketchy. You do really need to read the small print, and because the basic thing is, why are these people borrowing from peer-to-peer systems rather than from banks, okay? Oftentimes it's because they don't, you know, stand up to the scrutiny of a bank, or their credit score is too low, their business plan isn't good, or whatever. Their business plan wouldn't stand up to inspection by a bank, which is why they're forced to borrow from peer-to-peer systems, okay? So, you know, losing out on your initial investment is a very real possibility in some circumstances, and you want to look at the small print as to what happens if the person defaults on the loan, you know, who's responsible for that, will you get your money back, all that kind of stuff. So peer-to-peer lending, some people have had success with it, doing it, but there is, you know, you should exercise caution with it. Let's move on to the next one. Investing in REITs, okay? Now REITs stands for Real Estate Investment Trust, and these are basically funds or trusts that buy and manage properties, okay? They buy and sell properties, they rent properties out, etc. Like property management trust, basically. And you can get some higher dividend yield off of real estate investment trusts, you know, higher than the average stock, basically. Now, Fundrise is a real estate investment trust. It adopts more of a sort of hip kind of feel, appealing to millennials, I guess. You can see those yield rates there, pretty high. But real estate investment trusts are nothing new. They've been around for years. Let's have a look at another one from Forbes. So basically, this is one from an article in Forbes about the best REITs, and it's called RFI. And actually it's, well, at the time of the writing of the article, it was offering a 8.9% annual yield. And basically it pays monthly an 8 cents distribution, and its stock, you know, its price currently is about $12. So yeah, it's roughly, perhaps slightly lower than 8.9% now. And so basically you're just living off of, probably a lot of it's coming from the rental incomes of these properties, capital gains from sales, etc. And like a fund, it does actually, the price fluctuates, so you can get capital gain off of it as well if you sell it. But a lot of people invest in these for the distributions because they tend to be higher than dividends from stocks. The con, though, is that the distributions are not charged at long-term capital gains rates. There's no qualified dividend from a REIT. Basically, they're just charged at normal income rates. However, under the new Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the Trump tax plan, you get a 20% deduction on the income. So you can get 20% of it tax-free, and then you're taxed at the standard rates, which is a little bit better for real estate investment trust investors. Another passive income model I stumbled upon was renting out your car. Okay, now there's a website called Turo. I have no affiliation with any of these websites that I'm mentioning, by the way. We're not doing any affiliate marketing for them. But anyway, there's a website called Turo which enables you to rent out your car, or enables other people to rent cars from individuals. So if you're traveling somewhere, instead of renting from Avis, National, or the usual suspects, you could just rent a car through Turo that comes from an individual. It's their car. I was curious, so I entered the information for my car, the 2014 Ford Fusion SE, on there. They estimated I would earn $42 per day that it was rented, and it would get rented probably 8 times per month, giving me $336 per month. So I wasn't really that impressed. I mean, it's not that much, okay? If you are willing to deliver your car, you know, cars that can be delivered will, you know, get rented more, but then obviously you're gonna have to find a way to get back from where you've delivered your car to. You have to take public transport or whatever, so then it's not as passive as it otherwise would be, okay? Just putting your car on there, having someone come to your house and get your car, it's super passive, just like with Airbnb or whatever. So, you know, there are pros and cons to this, and one of the big cons as well is that it's gonna be adding mileage to your car. And in a way, you're kind of exchanging the value of your car for some income. Obviously, that's probably not going to take up all of the income, but that would be another one of your costs, depreciating the value of that asset through adding miles to it. And it's going to have to be serviced more frequently. The tires are going to get worn down because it's being driven more. So you have to factor that into the cost. It's like when, you know, doing Uber as well. It's a very similar thing. You have to factor in the maintenance, tires, increased mileage, the depreciation of the vehicle to work out your real profit from it. So, you know, it could be good if you have a spare car that you're not using anymore. Perhaps you've already bought another car and you think, well, I could just rent this car out and earn some money from it as it depreciates rather than selling it. You know, it could be good, but then again, the costs could outweigh the profit. Now it is time for our final passive income source of this particular video. We'll still have more in other videos, and that is selling digital products online. Now I've chosen digital products because with a digital product, you just create it once, okay? And then it's done and it can be sold and replicated infinite times. It's not like, say, you know, manufacturing products like making jewelry and selling it on Etsy. You have to actually put in the time to manufacture it. With digital products, you literally put in the time to create it once, and then it's ready to be replicated infinite times. So for example, it could be like a course, it could be an ebook, anything like that. Now with those things, you might have to update them maybe once annually, right? But essentially, once you've created it once, it can be sold thousands or even millions of times. Now, many online influencers, people on YouTube, Instagram, have been creating courses on Udemy or Skillshare or Teachable or many of these other websites that allow you to kind of create a course, or even on your own website where you just, you know, give people a password to unlock it after they've paid, and then they get, you know, they get the video course. Now, there are a few different ways to do this, because obviously if you don't have a following, you may need to use online advertising, in which case you'll need to be a online advertising whiz, all right? You may need to go and watch a course yourself to get good at doing Facebook ads, YouTube ads, all that kind of stuff. A great example of this is the Tai Lopez Here in My Garage with My Lamborghini ad.
Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini here. It's fun to drive up here in the Hollywood Hills. But you know what I like a lot more than materialistic things? Knowledge.
He got millions of dollars worth of signups for his course from that. I mean, everyone saw that ad. A lot of the feedback was negative. People made fun of him for it, but I think still a lot of people bought the course, okay? It was a hugely successful ad campaign. Now, there is another way you can do this, and that is just by building a following online. And there are loads of influencers doing this. You've got people like Graham Stefan, who's uploading, you know, several videos a week and doing courses. Jeremy from Financial Education, he's doing daily videos and then he upsells to a course. You know, so obviously the uploading of daily videos, that's not passive. Although it might take him only a half day to create a video, okay? It might not be like doing a full day's work, but then the selling of the course is kind of the passive income stream. And you earn money off of the videos you upload for free anyway. So yeah, the course component would be passive once you have created it. Now, if you are doing this, if you're an influencer, you're on YouTube or you're on Instagram, you need to really guard your reputation in order for people to actually want to buy your course. I mean, don't get involved with any financial scams.
Hey, hey, hey.
You've got people like Ryan Hildreth who are involved with BitConnect, and well, if you have a look at his channel, you can see he's got this check mark. You only get that once you're over 100,000 subscribers, but look at his subscriber count, it's at 92,000. So his channel must have been over 100,000 at one point, and you know, after the news of the BitConnect lawsuit and everything broke, and BitConnect exchange being shut down, he has just starting losing subscribers. I mean, he was a major shill for BitConnect. So I looked at Social Braid. His channel actually peaked at 107,000, and you know, he's lost, like 15,000 subscribers. He's down to 92,000 now. You can see here he's actually losing subscribers every day. Every time he uploads, he loses a few subscribers, and his video views are down to the low hundreds. And yet he's still trying to sell courses. And well, you know, at one time he may have been quite successful with his courses back when people didn't realize BitConnect was a scam. But obviously now, I don't think there's going to be that many people buying his courses these days, since his reputation is pretty much ruined. So the moral to that story is basically just you need to protect your reputation. And then obviously with your courses, your price point has to be picked correctly. If you provide a course that's a lot of waffling and not much actual information, you sell it for like $500 or $1,000, people are going to be pretty annoyed at you. They're going to leave bad reviews, they're going to tell others not to buy it, they're going to ask for their money back, etc. But if you do put in a lot of effort, really put in a lot of worthwhile information, you can sell it for like $1,000. People will treat it as if they were attending a community college or an evening class or something like that, which they would pay similar amounts for. And if they can learn the same information from an online course, people will buy it, especially if they feel it's going to enhance their career and enable them to earn more money in the future. All right, guys, so those are several passive income ideas. You will notice that all of them do require either a little bit of upfront investment, in which case money, and you'd have to earn money by working, or they require you to create some system, create some product. So at the beginning, these passive income things are not passive. You have to work to set them up. But once they are set up, they can go on earning you money for months and even years to come. Okay, now if you like this video, please leave a comment below. I do have a load more passive income ideas that I can, you know, put into another video, perhaps even a third video. You know, there's just so many different ideas out there. So leave a comment if you want to see another passive income video. And what's your favorite passive income stream? You can leave that as well. Please subscribe if you're new for more business and entrepreneurship videos every week. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.